When I say the word negotiation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's this high-pressure back-and-forth duel, a verbal chess match where the quickest, cleverest person wins. But what if that whole picture is just wrong?
This idea isn't some new age business hack. We're talking ancient wisdom here. Over 2,000 years ago, the legendary general Sun Tzu laid it out in The Art of War. He understood that battles aren't really won in the heat of the moment, amidst all the chaos. No, they're won in the quiet planning that happens long before anyone even draws a sword.
So let's just think about that for a second. What if we took that timeless strategy and applied it to our own battles? Asking for a raise, closing a deal, maybe even just deciding where to go for dinner. What if your next big negotiation was basically over and you'd won before you even walked into the room? Well, that is exactly the principle behind a really powerful practical tool for today. It's called the Negotiation One Sheet, and you can think of it as your modern battle plan, all boiled down onto a single powerful page. So here's the roadmap. It's got 5 key parts. We're going to start with a crystal clear goal, then a situation summary. After that, we'll prep our psychological tools, things called labels and an accusation audit. Then we'll get our calibrated questions ready. And finally, we'll brainstorm some non-cash offers. Simple, right? All right, let's dive into the first piece. And honestly, this might be the most important, defining your objective. A general would never march his army onto a field without knowing exactly which hill he's trying to capture. The same has to be true for us. And here's where the real discipline kicks in. It's so easy to think about a range of possibilities. The best case, the worst case, what you'll settle for. But the one sheet forces you to write down just one thing, a single, specific, ambitious goal. Why? Because writing it down primes your brain. It focuses all your energy on that one specific victory, making anything less feel like a loss you've got to fight to avoid. Okay, next up, the situation summary. And this is where we totally flip the script. See, most people prepare for a negotiation by listing all the reasons they're right and the other guy's wrong. That is not what we're doing here. Your mission is to describe the situation, the facts, their perspective so perfectly, so accurately that they know you get it. And how do you know you've nailed it? You're listening for these 2 magic words. That's right. Now, this is totally different from "you're right," which is usually just something people say to make you go away. That's right. That's the sound of a breakthrough. It's them admitting, wow, this person actually understands me. That's the exact moment trust is born, and a real negotiation can actually begin. So we've set our goal. We've shown that we understand their world. Now, let's build on that foundation and start arming ourselves with the psychological tools that are going to help us guide the conversation where we want it to go. We're going to prep a couple of things here that work hand in hand. First, the accusation audit. You literally list out the worst things they might be thinking about you. You're going to think I'm being greedy, or you probably feel like I'm trying to rush you. At the same time, you'll jot down some labels for their feelings, like it seems like you're worried about the budget. Both of these tactics are about getting out ahead of any negativity, and it shows them you're paying close attention. There's a fantastic story about Abraham Lincoln that shows you just how powerful this is. When a political rival called him two-faced, Lincoln just calmly replied, honestly, if I were two-faced, would I be showing you this one? Right? By calling out the accusation himself with a bit of humor, he completely disarmed it, just sucked all the poison right out of the attack. That is what a good accusation audit can do. Next up in your toolkit, calibrated questions. Now, these are the exact opposite of simple yes or no questions. They are really carefully crafted, open-ended questions that almost always start with what or how. And the goal isn't to trap someone, it's to make them hit the pause button, to make them think, and, get this, to get them to help you solve your problem. It gives them the illusion of control while you frame the conversation. Just look at the difference here. It's night and day. A weak question like, can you lower the price? Well, that just invites a no. End of story. But a calibrated question like, how am I supposed to do that? That brings them onto your team. It respectfully asks them to look at the problem from your side. Suddenly, they're not your adversary anymore. They're your problem-solving partner. All right, last piece of the puzzle on our one sheet. We've got our goal, we've prepped our tactics. Now it's time for the fun part, getting creative and finding value where other people just don't see it. I'm talking about non-cash offers. The big secret here is that it's not always about the money, not even close. Your one sheet should have a list of 3 to 5 things you can give that don't cost you much but might be incredibly valuable to the other side. It could be something like flexible payment terms, a great public testimonial, an introduction to somebody important in your network. Heck, it could even be just agreeing to a deadline that makes them look like a hero to their boss.
This whole idea is what the pros call expanding the pie. So instead of fighting over one single thing, like money, you're adding more variables to the equation. And a great way to do that if you get stuck is to bring in objective criteria, things like market value, industry standards, or legal precedent. It shifts the discussion from this battle of egos to more of a collaborative search for what's fair. And that creates so much more room for a win-win.
And look, if you're still thinking, wow, this sounds like a lot of work, let me just hit you with this number. Research consistently shows that every single hour you put into preparation pays you back 9 times over in the final outcome. 9 times. This isn't just a nice to have. The return on investment is absolutely massive. So we've built our one sheet. We've got our goal, our summary, our psychological tools, our creative offers. But the real power of all this preparation, it isn't just the plan itself. It's the mindset, the tone that it creates inside you. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started with Sun Tzu. When you've done this work, you walk into that room with a completely different energy. It's a calm confidence. You're not there to wing it or react. You are there to execute a plan you already know works. Your negotiation is won before the first move is even made. Because ultimately, the most powerful negotiation tool you have isn't a clever turn of phrase or nerves of steel. It's discipline. The discipline to actually sit down, to think, to prepare, and to plan. That discipline, that is your decisive advantage. So I'll just leave you with this choice. The next time you have to negotiate something, big or small, are you going to be on your back foot, just reacting to their moves, their tactics, their game? Or, having done the work, will you be calmly running your own playbook and having them, without even knowing it, play yours?